Hello everyone, this is Old School. It's November 2022 and I decided to make a video about Adventures with Purpose, otherwise known as AWP, and why their owner and CEO, Leisek, has been charged with 2 felony counts, allegedly. And his trial will begin on November 30th, 2022 in the state of Utah. He has also made headline news with these allegations. Now, like many of you, I first discovered AWP when a news station was doing a live broadcast of AWP looking for Kiely Rodni at the Prosser Reservoir on August the 21st, 2022, and they found 16-year-old Kiely underwater in her Honda CR-V, and they released a video about the underwater dive and recovery on September the 2nd, 2022, and it received over 3 million views. And they also allowed a paywall to be established for $6.99 a month. Viewers and content creators in the true crime community have the utmost respect for the AWP team members and what they have done for families across America. They have recovered 26 people that were missing, and many of them underwater in their vehicles. I noticed that master diver Rinn had something special on his dive gear, holding his oxygen tubes in place. It's a Ranger tab, and you can see it with the yellow lettering. And how I know about the Rangers is that my son was a combat medic, Army Ranger, who did 3 tours in Afghanistan, and I still have my Ranger Mom shirt from 10 years ago. So I researched and found that, yes, the Army does train combat divers to be part of the Ranger teams and Special Forces, and no doubt Nick was trained with them. So I did a quick background check on the new diver Rinn, and sure enough, he was an Army veteran combat engineer. So I went ahead and signed up for the $6.99 a month channel membership to support the AWP team, and I bought some merchandise, 3 of the green window breakers and a pink and purple one for my family members. And 2 months later, I don't regret subscribing to their channel or buying merchandise to help fund their equipment and missions. And I still think that they did an outstanding job bringing home closure for 26 different families across America, and we shouldn't lose sight of that, all the good that they have done. And the team members deserve our respect because they did work together to make it happen, each of them bringing their skill sets to the team. And now I have to ask myself, why are they resigning? Doug Bishop came out first and said he's resigning because a break of moral code and it goes against his values. And then Rinn, who joined AWP in August, he also resigned along with the videographer Josh Cantu. And both Nick and Josh have their own YouTube channels they're trying to grow. And so you have to ask yourself, were the allegations so horrific and shocking that it caused almost the entire AWP team to resign several weeks before the trial begins on November 30th? And when you step back and look, it seems that waiting for 30 days or longer is not sustainable when you have families to feed. So I'm going to take a deep dive, pun intended, and find out who Jared Leisek really is, his early background. This is part 1. And would he be someone that they should have waited for? And I did a background check on him using TrueFinder. He is 47. He created AWP in 2018 when he was 43 years old. And he is the founder and owner of AWP. And he put together a fabulous team of men and divers and videographers with unique skill sets. But I'm going to give you a warning that when I read the indictment, it has some strong language, and it also shows exactly when these allegations occurred. And I got the information from another YouTube channel, Unjustified, and that she's the one that put out this statement of probable cause. State of Utah versus Jared Leisek. The defendant and the victim are cousins. In 1992, the victim, cousin, was between 9 and 10 years old. The defendant, Jared, is 7 years older than the victim. Just before November the 1st, 1992, the victim lived in Ephraim, Utah, which is located in Sanpete County. About this time, the defendant, Jared, and the victim, cousin, were in the victim's bedroom when the defendant, Jared, pinned the victim to the ground, pulled her undergarment down, and put himself inside her. During another incident that same year, the defendant and victim were at their grandparents' house in Manti, Utah, where the defendant, Jared, lay on top of the victim, his cousin, and he put his body part in hers. This information was obtained from the following witnesses: Detective Corey Devon Krebs, Ephraim City, Utah. And then it gives a incident report number, and it's dated 3 November 2022, and it's signed by Eric E. Butler, Deputy County Attorney. And so I bring this to your attention because it's very specific on the ages. And Jared would have been 17 years old, and his cousin between 9 and 10 years old. So please keep that in mind. Now we begin the story of Jared Leisek asking the question, who am I? I found this information on Jared's own webpage that he had built himself back in 2017. But if you go out there today in November 2022, it's missing. Apparently Jared has taken it down after he worked so hard to tell his story. So luckily I had screenshot some of the pages I felt were very important about his life, and I will be sharing some of that information with you. Now Jared would have been about 40 to 43 years old when he established his web page. And what I noticed was that the first picture he had was with his father, and I believe it is John in the picture, and Jared was a teenager, and he's talking about parents and the importance of parents. And he talked about how you can't choose your parents, you can't change history, but learn from it. And so I just thought it was interesting. He only had that one picture on his web page. So I thought, let's do some time traveling and see if we can find out who Jared was before he became a teenager, what kind of life, family he experienced in Utah. And so we can time travel using a microfilm like we did in the old days, or the newer microfiche machines. But you have to go to a library and you can use it for free. But I have a yearly membership to newspapers.com. I use it extensively for genealogy research and web sleuthing and background checks. And so I went on to newspapers.com to see if I could find any information on Jared and his family. And lo and behold, from about 44 years ago, I saw this article on scout competitions, and it was in the Manti, Utah Messenger on September 1978. And Jared was only 3 years old. You can barely see the little guy in the very back that has the caption over his head. And his father, John, was the scoutmaster of Troop 542, and they came in third place in this scout competition. Troop 542 is from Manti, Utah's 1st Ward. And these are the results of that competition back on September 28, 1978. And you can see that Scout Leader John exposed his son and the other boys to early scouting. And now we're going to travel 7 years to 1985. And guess who we see? Jared Leisek. He's almost 10 years old in May of 1985. And he was chosen to greet the president in 1986 if he was chosen as the candidate. Did Boy Scout Jared Leisek get a chance of a lifetime and was chosen to go and meet President Ronald Reagan during the 1986 commensurate? I could not find any evidence that this took place. So if anyone knows, please leave in the comments section if Jared got to meet President Reagan or not. 3 months later, in August of 1985, I found a picture of Jared on a Little League baseball team. It's a boys' farm league in Ephraim, Utah. And Jared is the boy in the back row, 5th from the left, right next to the tallest boy. Jared's team came in 1st place in the Farm League tournament. Jared turned 10 years old in September, and 7 months later, his name appeared again in the Manti Elementary School winners, along with his sister Chessica. And the article states that a talent show was held on March the 6th, 1986. Honorable mention winners in art were Chessica Leisek and her brother Jared. A week later, Jared's name appeared in the Manti Messenger for a science fair project list of winners. 20 students were presented special awards, and Jared was named one of the 20 winners for his science project in hot air balloons. And now we can see why there was such a strong connection with Jared and his father. John Leisek had introduced his son to scouting at a very early age, Little League baseball, and hot air balloons. But we must ask the question, what happened to the Leisek family? And the answer seems to lie in divorce and remarriages. In fact, after 1986, I could not find any newspaper articles in Utah about Jared, Chessica, or other family members. In November 2022, the dive got deeper and much darker. I kept searching for answers and came across an interview that caught me up to 1991. And this is when Jared was 16 years old and he had some younger siblings. And the one closest to his age is his sister, Chessica Leisek. Chessica was born a year later in October 1976. Chessica spoke out on behalf of her cousin she calls Hero. Chessica went on a live panel by herself with Pascal on November 7th, 2022. And she really opens up about her childhood, and I want you to listen to what Chessica has to say about her life.
Actually put me on an airplane to say, bye, we're sending you out of Nevada and we're sending you to Oregon to your father. I was only with my father for about 1 week before I got kicked out of his place, and that was because my arm was like, Jared totally kicked my ass. My rotator cuff was out of socket. Like I was in some serious pain. He did it while my father was at work one day. And of course, he's trying to get me down, and I'm not allowing it to happen. So I ended up just getting my butt kicked that day. So my dad comes home from work, and we were staying at a small trailer park. He was in a little Terry travel trailer at the Safeway in Springfield, Oregon, right next to the Safeway. And there was a single dad that was living with with his daughter that was my same age, that was in a trailer right next to us. And so I let them know what happened. And even though they had a small trailer as well, they said, you know what, you can go ahead and come stay with us. A little while later, my dad, and by a little while later, it could have been a few days, it could have been a couple weeks, he said, I just got a job over at Brightwood and Madras. And so on Sunday after church, I'm going to be pulling the trailer out and we're going to be moving over there. And I told him, okay, I want to go. I will see you Sunday, at church. Anyways, I woke up that morning, the trailer was already gone. I looked at my friend and I was just like, okay, well, he must have just taken the truck and the trailer with him to church, because he says that he's leaving after church. So we went down to the Mormon church there in town, which was still going on. It's 3 hours long. And so we ended up going down there. Church was not out yet, and the truck and trailer was nowhere to be found. He literally left me in Springfield. So, and then all of a sudden, that's when Jared shows up a little while later. And by a little while, I'm thinking, at least a month down the road, Jared shows up and he's like, I'm taking you Christmas shopping. And that's when our mall break-in happened at Meyer and Frank. And then we're talking a couple days after that, I believe. A couple days after Jared showed up, my friend went and stayed the night with her boyfriend.
I ended Chessica's interview before she went on to tell more horrific events about her assaults as a teenager. I'll leave the link to Pascal's entire interview in the description below. Chessica Leisek had a very difficult life in Springfield and Eugene, Oregon, after she moved there for a couple months to live with her father. Now, Jared had a tight bond with John. They shared the love of hot air balloons, Little League baseball, and Boy Scouts. And Jared had alluded on his website that life was good when his parents were together when he was a young boy. I'm not sure if Sharon is his biological mother or stepmom. If anyone can answer that question, please leave it in the comments section. And Jared, when he was 10 and 11 years old, he was winning awards, he was ambitious, just an all-American boy. And so we have to question, who is Jared? Is he a product of his environment? Did all the divorces and remarriages affect him? He seems to indicate that when he talks about being a high school dropout and homeless in a personal part of his blog. And I'll read what he wrote about being homeless. I returned to live with my father later in life when he was between marriages. He soon married wife number 4, and once again I felt that we kids took a back seat to the new family. I bounced from friend's house to friend's house and finally dropped out of school. my journey took me to Grenada in the Bahamas and other parts of America. I ran out of money and soon became homeless, sleeping in parks, bushes, and hotel stairwells. I even sold perfume door to door, but it never seemed to make enough, leaving me eating at soup kitchens, wandering hotel halls, looking for room service leftovers. And yes, I have even eaten out of garbage cans. During this 1.5-year long journey, I learned that I really didn't know everything, and as a result, I went back to school. So let's just recap what we've heard. By her own testimony, Chessica Leisek said she was 15 years old in November of 1991, and her brother Jared was a year older, making him 16. By her own verbal statement, Chessica said that she and her brother Jared went Christmas shoplifting sometime after November 1991, and then she became homeless again when her father left her behind, but took Jared. And we just read that Jared also became homeless, bouncing from friend's house to friend's house. Now, according to Chessica, family members gave Jared money so he wouldn't have to testify during his father's divorce proceedings. And he just stated he was gone to the Caribbean island in the Bahamas called Grenada. It's the Spice Island, 21 miles long, known for their beaches and conch shells. So we know that Jared was 16 years old, and his sister said he was given money and sent to Bahamas so he wouldn't have to testify in his dad's divorce proceedings. Did Jared commit other crimes during this time? It seems that the allegations against him occurred 1 year later, in November 1992, when he had the Volkswagen Bug and he was driving. So his timeline of bouncing around for 1.5 years is probably off. It probably only happened for about a year. And remember when Jared said he went to Grenada in the Bahamas by his own statement? Well, last time I checked, Grenada is in the Caribbean, but it is approximately 1,358 miles from the Bahamas. So was Jared really in Grenada if he didn't realize that it's nowhere near the Bahamas? I think if I was in Grenada, I would realize where I'd been at for 1 year or longer. Now let's time travel to 1993, when Jared was a junior in high school. On his Who Am I blog, he stated, "My junior year in high school, I put together a 10-page application to date Jared Leisek for fun one day. I handed it out to 20 or so girls who I was interested in, some who I was not, and some who I hoped had an interest in me. One of the girls was in my English class, and I never thought I had a chance with her. She filled it out with near perfect answers, along with the lipstick lip print she left and the perfume scent she sprayed on the application. It took another 3 months to get her to finally go on a date with me, for I found out she filled it out as a joke." After Jared's 3 months of persistence, Kristen agreed to date him for 1.5 years until they graduated from high school in 1995. Now, I found proof that Jared went back to Oregon, and that's where he was dating Kristen, and this was sometime around 1994, and here is the proof. A month before his birthday in August of 1994, Jared got pulled over for excessive speed and other infractions. But let's go forward 1 year to June of 1995, when Jared and Kristen graduated from high school. They got married later that summer. Here's a picture of the happy couple. If their wedding occurred before the end of August, I have proof that Kristen would have been 17, almost 18 years old at the end of August, and of course Jared would have been almost 20. I also found out where this happy couple went on their honeymoon, to sunny Florida. I found the proof in the background check I did on Jared. In fact, it was 8 days before his 20th birthday, and he also involved his new bride. She was already 18. They both got charged, allegedly, with some type of theft in Orange County, Florida, that involved a second-degree misdemeanor. Either Jared or Kristen had to pay a $210 fine, and this charge is still visible on background checks. But to be 100% certain and know all the specific details, you would need to take the case number and either go online to Orange County, Florida, or look it up to verify. This ends part 1 of the video. Please give me a like and share if you found something valuable. Thanks.